the first to know Nsem-Pii TV.
Emamo akwaba by Nsem-Pii TV so. Paul Adom Otchere and the brilliant and excellent analysis be able to drive for Dr.Bawumia at the flabber for NPP in a possible running mate no. Any name a dime brina ana able to drive for Dr.Bawumia and a possible running mate no. A majority of them na Ashanti MPs are Honorable Marty Opoku Prempeh ni dinka ho. Honorable Oseya Aduchum Honorable Chairman Sabunsu John Kuma Francis Asonso Boachi Bantama MP ene afo from Keka ho. Ene ne lawyer Paul Nsem-Pii to dra the partner Dr.Bawumia or their head 2024 general election na ebetimi aboa Dr.Bawumia ene NPP amo omatimi abeki the 8 no. A message ebeko na akuti lawyer Paul nsema odi to dra.
This is the first time they are picking up a non-Akan candidate. So the running mate must be Akan. Akan is generally broader. So some people are trying to push the running mate to say that, to push the candidate, say that your running mate must be Ashanti. For sure. Other people say, no, it doesn't have to be Ashanti from Begro, Ashanti from my hometown, Kwamo, Ashanti from Ejoso, John Kume's hometown, Ashanti from... My father's father is from Kwamo, but he lived in Nkasim, so people think that he's from Nkasim. So you don't say an Ashanti from Nkasim. So the Ashanti towns are Nkasim, Ejoso, Kumewu, Bampon, those kind of hardcore places, or the Kumasi places. In Suta is big, yeah, those places, Kukufu, that's Ashanti. So some people are saying that, yes, it is true, but let's pick an Akan candidate that people can rally behind. That's not just Ashanti. You heard in Parliament that they are pushing the Ashanti agenda. I don't know how that's going to end. I don't know what the presidential candidate is thinking, but this is our analysis. Okay. The first three, Osaya Oduchum. Now, Osaya Oduchum rose to fame when he was Deputy Minister of Education. He started talking on programs like ours, on Newsfile, and as he spoke, people began to wonder that, where has this guy been? Who is he? The Deputy Minister of Education. Charlie, the guy is brilliant, man. Where is he coming from? And they said he's from California, he's from America. So one day I brought him here and I said, he should tell his story. And then he said, well, he's in California he's built a school, he's doing very well in education. He's an education professional. He studied land economy at KNUST, went over abroad and took his PhD in education. So he's an education person. He was minding his business in California when Akufo-Addo came in 2010 or so, after he had lost 2008. So he met him and he talked to him about education. He said, is that what you do here? Akufo-Addo said, why didn't you come to Ghana? We need you to come and work. And he said, oh, I'm not a politician. I said, no, it doesn't matter. Where do you come from? He said, I come from Boston. He said, call Freddie Blay and people. They will sort you out. Come. I need you in Ghana. Hurry up and come. He thought it was a joke. Akufo-Addo went and phoned him. He said, Dr. Aduchum, are you coming? You say you are from Jachi. Are you coming? Will you? Okay, blah, 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 blah. Long story short, Aduchum sits in America. He's elected as a member of parliament for Jachi. Anyway, he comes in and he becomes a member of parliament. Later on, the party win power. He's made Deputy Minister of Education. People hear him and they say, this is education for education. So he's there. Opoku Prempeh had demonstrated a certain loyalty to the Akufo-Addo system. Now, I didn't know him that well. But in 2008, during the results of the election, as the results were coming in, at that time, there was a clear body language conflict between the Kufuor people and the Akufo-Addo people. And the Akufo-Addo people felt that the Kufuor people were not giving the support that they needed to give for this election because Alan Kyerematen had been defeated. In the midst of that, I was in the room when at that time, the candidate Akufo-Addo was, and there were a few other people there. And they said to him that Napo is looking for him. Then he said, let him come. And it appeared that the conversation they were having was quite sensitive at that time. They were looking at some figures. It was quite sensitive. So when he said, let him come, one of them looked at him with a kind of bombastic side eye, and he told the person that, Napo is fine, it doesn't matter. And the person asked him, are you sure? I won't mention the person's name. He said, are you sure? The candidate said, yes, it's fine. So he came in. Then I saw him, Napo. This is the first time I'm seeing him. 2008. So he comes and he squats by the candidate and he's doing some figures analysis with him. Then he looks at me with a bit of suspicion because this is sensitive and some journalists in the room. So he pauses, he identifies me, he pauses, looks at me with suspicion, and then the candidate says, oh, it's Paul Adom Otchere, it's okay. Then he continues his work. So as he's going, I go to see him off. This is at the Electoral Commission, near the Electoral Commission office, number 7, where Akufo-Addo is. I go to see him off. And then as I'm descending the steps with him, he hits me with this. So I've never met him. He just said, now, Opedewa, we a journalist, Opedewa. And I said, oh, this is a nice, bubbly guy. And I said, okay, cool. So me. He said, me de me no more pa. So back say I'm home. And I said, next time I come to Kumasi, I'll come and look for him. And that's how we became friends from that time. So Napo was one of those who was representing Menchia constituency. You would have thought of him as a Kufuor person because he's replacing Kwame Ado-Kufuor at Menchia. So, and he's from the Menchia, thing. So, but he was one of those that the candidate in Accra could single out and think that, oh, this guy is for me. So I started observing him, from that time. And then the stories came out about his loyalty. So he's done that for quite a bit. It wasn't surprising then that the core policy of Akufo-Addo's administration, Akufo-Addo anchored his political career on education. Fundamentally that. He began the free SHS campaign from the 2008 election. He stepped it up in 2012. He repeated it in 2016. So this, Akufo-Addo had tied his political fortunes to the delivery of a certain education service and quality. That's what he has tied his political fortunes to, clearly. As soon as he was made president, everyone was checking out who is he going to send to education to carry out this. And then he chose Napo. Napo was looking for something else. He wanted to be minister for local government. He thought that he had done enough in that area. He had been studying local government. He wanted to be minister for local government. But the president called him and said, I trust you. Go and do education for me. Okay, the rest, as they say, is history. So he's on the card. Nsem-Pii Bonsu is here. Okay, why is Nsem-Pii Bonsu there? Even though he said that he doesn't want it before. He's there because the concern is that this election is a parliamentary election. Whoever will win 2024 will have to win in parliament. Parliament is where the action is. If you can be picking up parliamentary seats on the night of election results coming, you have won the presidential. If we sit here on election night and the results are coming in and one party is winning parliament that they didn't have before, it should be indicating to us that that party is going to win the presidential election. So it's a parliamentary election. If it's a parliamentary election, therefore, you need to select your running mate from within amongst the members of parliament and select somebody the members of parliament can rally behind. Is that person Nsem-Pii Bonsu? Is that person Napo? Is that person Osei Oduchum? I don't know. But these are the three front runners. The point about the running mate, though, it doesn't always go to front runners. Always. In fact, often it doesn't go to front runners. Maybe this year it will change, but it doesn't often go to front runners. We will consider the dark horses in a moment. But let me now go to my independence arc charts. Let's start with Dr. Bawumia and John Mahama, and then we'll build it up to the rest. I'll come to the dark horses in a minute, and then I'll come to the NDC one. Okay, so we are looking at Dr. Bawumia and John Mahama are here. Whom do you trust on governance, on economic recovery, and ICT development? Whom do you trust? Because this is number one for MPP, this is number one for NDC. This is not going to change. Whom do you trust? We asked that question already. Let's move it on. Now, this is an interesting one. This pair is the reason why Nana Opoku-Agyeman may be changed. I'm giving this to you viewers tonight. Take it. If ever Nana Opoku-Agyeman is changed as John Mahama's running mate, it will be because of the frights of this pair. The NDC have held a meeting, and they are particularly frightened about this Dr. Educhum and Nana Opoku-Agyeman situation. So we ask the question that on education curricular development, whom do you trust? If Osei Educhum is the candidate for the MPP running mate, Nana Opoku-Agyeman is the candidate for the NDC, both of them have been ministers for education. That's all Nana Opoku-Agyeman has done in politics anyway. She was vice chancellor of the University of Cape Coast, the first ever female vice chancellor. Congratulations to her. We love her for that. But she was minister for education as well under John Dramani Mahama. And the data of education is there. How many people wrote SSE? How many people passed? How many went through free SHS? How many did this? Who has influenced policy? Who understands education policy? Education is a feature of the people who are voting. The people who are voting are looking for education for their children. So this is going to be a very awesome comparison between Nana Opoku-Agyeman and Educhum if Educhum becomes. What are people saying? They are thinking that the NDC should change Nana Opoku-Agyeman. Otherwise, if this argument comes in, Nana Opoku-Agyeman falls flat at the feet of Educhum. No Ghanaian, they say, I don't know, people are saying, no Ghanaian, they say, will look at Educhum and Jenana Opoku-Agyeman and think that Jenana Opoku-Agyeman is superior to Educhum on education policy. Zero. Even the most core NDC person will admit that on this comparison, Educhum flaws Jenana Opoku-Agyeman. I don't know. That's not our view. This is a view of what people are saying. We have not said our view. We'll say our view at some point, okay? But it's not our view. This is the view of people, okay? Now, what is your view? A viewer? Are you a viewer? What is your view? Tell us. Let's shift it on. Yes. In the other event, that Napo is made the running mate, again, he's been Minister for Education for 4 years. Jenana Opoku-Agyeman has been Minister of Education for 4 years. The comparison is going to come again. Who do you trust on education policy and curricular development? Napo is here. He has a record of education, 17 to 21. Jenana Opoku-Agyeman has a record, 13 to 17. Would you trust on education? Is education important to Ghanaians at all? I believe the answer is yes. It's always important to everyone, especially these days. Now, if you're going to hand over the reins of a government of government to a group of people, you have to check what their education strength is. Maybe John Mahama can be president and can have a fantastic education minister. We don't know. But for the purpose of the election, we are looking at record. Because this election is going to be about record. Nobody is coming in afresh. Nobody is coming in anew. Nobody is coming in without experience. Nobody is coming in without having been there before. They've all been there before. And they are competing against each other again. So Napo has a record for education. Jenana Opoku-Agyeman has a record for education. We're going to pull up that record. I think this coverage is very simple for media. If we want to do our work the way we have to, it's very simple. It's record versus record, record versus record, record versus record. I remember ahead of 2020 elections, I interviewed President Akufo-Addo in the studio when we opened the studio. And he said that election is a simple matter. I have been president for 4 years. John Mahama has been president for 4 years. It's a straight comparison of record. His record, my record. I said, it's as simple as that. It didn't surprise me then that in areas like Central Region, where the NDC won the parliament, the people gave the presidency to Akufo-Addo. Because comparing the record of Akufo-Addo 4 years, the record of John Mahama, the Ghanaian people felt that Akufo-Addo's record was better. Even though they were unhappy with certain things, COVID has come, there was difficulty, parliamentary elections had gone the other way, but Akufo-Addo still stood tall and won a straight first round over John Mahama because I believe the Ghanaian people had him as the honest person. He came and said, I have nothing to hide. Look at my record. Take John Mahama's record. John Mahama was able to do something with these Okada issues, which were not part of his record, but he raised it. And we believe that he got some votes out of that, which is okay. But Akufo-Addo said, it's my record. Now, if 2020 was about record, 2024 is going to be about record times 2 or record squared. It's going to be record versus record. So here it is. Jenana Opoku-Agyeman, what is her record at education? Why is she having a claim to the running mate? If she becomes the running mate, why must she have a claim to the vice presidency? What is the record? Ghanaians had ever given her the opportunity. She did. She became education minister. What happened? Ghanaians have ever given Napo the nod. He's a member of parliament. He became education minister. Now he's energy minister. What happened? That's what we're going to deal with, isn't it? Okay, let's move on and see whether there are some differences. As a result of that, there's a high call that Kwame Wadako should replace Jenana Opoku-Agyeman because they don't want the bashing. That's the NDC PR that is thinking now. They don't want the bashing on education to afflict. That's the word I'm looking for. Yes, the NDC doesn't want the bashing on education to afflict the presidential ticket. Because if you have Jenana Opoku-Agyeman and John Mahama, education may afflict the NDC ticket if Napo is chosen or Educhum is chosen. It's going to be a big conversation about education. And if the NDC loses the education argument, it's not good for the ballot.